Hello and welcome to the Franchise Tag podcast. It is preview show week 6. Yes, don't adjust your screens. Me and Adam are back. We're back, baby. We've been off for a little while, but I'm sure you're glad to see our faces and not the long-haired lover. We've got our betting guy back who's been on a bit of a roll lately. He's been putting out some absolutely amazing bets. But we're going to go through week 6 scores. We've already had one game. Are you glad to be back, Adam? Let's start with that.
Thrilled to be back as always. They're always upset when we don't get to do it, but great to be back. We've had one game. Absolutely ecstatic that I didn't stay up for it. Bit of a boring one. Great to see Brian Robinson score. That was literally the only highlight of the game, and two teams that are really going to struggle the rest of the year, I think.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame. I think prior to that game even starting, there was memes and jokes and everything on social media about how bad that game was going to be, and it lived up to the expectation of what it was, which is a bit of a shame. Obviously, we've seen Justin Fields go and do a couple of interviews and say how he's upset and he doesn't want to be almost there. He wants to be a bit better, but he's getting no help there, is he?
We said, didn't we, before the season started, that he's had nothing, no help at all. It's going to be really tough for Fields. However, I mean, some of them plays on Thursday night, that the worry that you see with Fields is just he was using his legs to get away, which was great, and giving himself time. But even when he gave himself time, he was still apprehensive to make the right call. And you do worry for him. You just sort of worry with a mixture of the lack of weapons around him and just the confidence that seems to have completely gone now. That it's just maybe not going to work out for him, which is a real shame because he came out of college really good, and I think we all felt that he had a strong chance to do something. But yeah, I don't know now.
Well, we'll move on to today's games. As always, it's my list, not Adam's list, so he'll have to trundle through his notes to find which one I pulled out of the bag. So we'll start off. My first one is San Francisco at Atlanta.
That's not my first one. Right. The 49ers at Atlanta. I feel like this is a bit of a dead game, to be honest. Atlanta have shown bits over the season, but I don't think they're going to do anything. You got a 49ers defense that is just superb, really has been so strong. Number 1 against the run, number 3 against the pass. It's not going to fail against an Atlanta attack that you know Marcus Mariota and Drake London. Patterson's out, so they're really struggling at running back. And I mean, for me, -4.5 for the 49ers, 10-11, I think is a decent bet. Really like Jeff Wilson in this game. I think the Falcons struggle against the run a bit. Well, I mean, they struggle on both, to be honest, when it comes to defense. But yeah, I think Wilson's a good bet at evens. I can see him getting a touchdown. And then Deebo Samuel obviously was the other one at evens as well, who you sort of feel like has got a good chance. Aside from that, there wasn't really a lot else in this game. It was a bit of you look at the prices and you look at the 49ers and it feels like it is pretty much Deebo Samuel and Jeff Wilson at the moment. So, yeah, there isn't really a lot else, but I think the 49ers will win it pretty comfortably, I must say.
Yeah, I think the 49ers are going to win this one comfortably. They're just a step above Atlanta. Atlanta have been in a few games, but they're missing some pieces. Some guys aren't working. There's 2 guys that you didn't name in your little slot there. I'd like to see your little take on this. George Kittle and Kyle Pitts, the 2 tight ends in this game. We've seen nothing from them all year. Where have they gone? Obviously, Kittle missed a bit of time, but...
Yeah, I mean, Kittle has struggled, hasn't he, with injuries? So I think that's the kind of almost like the excuse for Kittle, to be honest. He's had injuries. He struggled at the beginning. I think sometimes it takes a while to get back and get used to it again. So I think that's definitely an issue that he's struggling with. Kyle Pitts, no idea. Don't know what's happened. Just the quarterback. Mariota clearly just doesn't fancy passing the ball to him. obvious. It seems very obvious that his first read is Drake London, and that's about it. And of course, by the time that he's got to his second read, he's either started running, or he's just kind of just given up on it. So it just seems very strange. You've got this giant of a man who, in his rookie season, did pretty well, but he's just not being favoured, and I think that's all it is really. So I wouldn't be touching either of them because of them reasons. They're just like, you just don't know. You have to feel with Pitts' quality, one day this season he is going to hit, but good luck finding it, and I certainly wouldn't be doing it against the 49ers.
No, definitely not. It's not one. As you said, Jeff Wilson's come back with a bang, which is absolutely fantastic. He's, he's had his injury worries, but that's fantastic. Yeah, I'm in agreement with you. The 49ers are winning this one comfortably. On to the next game. We have got the New England Patriots at the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, so you've found another bit of a boring one, I'm afraid, for us all. Patriots Browns, lots of running in this one. There's not a lot of wide receivers to look at. Betting wise, obviously Nick Chubb, but he's so short. I mean, he's 8-13, so it's very short. Ramondre Stevenson looks like he's going to be the main guy now that Damien Harris is out injured. 20-21 anytime touchdown, I think, is a good bet for him. I can see both of them scoring. I mean, maybe if you can do a bet builder for both of them on this game, I think would be a good one, but not a lot there, not a lot to get that excited about. I did look at the over, funnily enough. I know it's a lot of run, but the Browns on average score 29 points at home. So I do think that there might be something in the over there. But on the whole, I think it's a bit of a lot of running, not a lot else happening. I don't think Mac Jones is back, is he? I think, is it still Bailey Zappi? And they showed that they can put points up when he's played as well. So yeah, I think the over is definitely worth a shout at over 43. I think the Browns might nick it just because they're at home, to be honest. I think it'll be very close, but I think the Browns, with that run game, Chubb and Hunt as well, I think might just have enough to take it. But not a game I'll be watching, I must say.
Yeah, I think it's good. Like I say, it's going to be a very run-heavy game. Bailey Zappi brings to the table pretty much the same as Mac Jones. They're like a younger version of him, if that's possible. I think I saw somewhere say that Bailey Zappi looks like someone playing Mac Jones in a Hollywood film. So that's the comparison. So yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be a close game. Both have got good defenses at the moment. I personally don't think it's going to be massively high scoring. I think the Patriots get a win in this one. I think they grind out a bit of a win. With it being a ground game and then being specialists in it, I just think they'll manage the clock well and maybe win it that way. But yeah, as you say, there's not much in the receiving core, is there? Jacoby Myers, that's about it. He's going to be in, isn't he?
Yeah, I think Myers is probably the one. If you want to look at sort of targets, I think that Myers is probably the one most likely to get that and receiving yards when it comes to the Patriots side. The Browns, is just not. You're not going to get a lot until you get Deshaun Watson back. I think that's pretty much all it's going to be. So when that happens, start looking at Amari Cooper. I think is probably the way forward. But obviously, that's not for a few weeks yet. There's just not a lot there. David Njoku, he might be the one that could potentially be worth having a look. I'm not sure what his price is actually, but David Njoku is definitely one player who is, likely to potentially get somewhere. He's 9-4 anytime at the moment, so yeah, he could be worth having a look, but it's pretty few and far between, to be honest.
Okay, the next game up is one that I'm sure you'll probably have your eye on. It's the New York Jets at the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, after last week's successful London trip that I had, that was lovely. I'm expecting a bit of a reaction. I think there has to be. There was a lot of after that game. we had Jair Alexander coming out and saying that he would be worried if we lost to the Jets, and Aaron Rodgers got a bit funny about that, about bringing things into existence and stuff like that. So he wasn't happy with that. A lot of commentators were having a go at the coaching staff. We desperately need to get the run game going a bit more. Having been there and watched it, the first half they were decent, and then in the second half they just stopped the run game. They just didn't use it until the very end, and it really cost them, because that was what was working. So they really need to bring in Dylan and Aaron Jones in a bit more. Unfortunately, their prices when it comes to betting in this game are quite short. There's not a lot there for you to really be going at. When it comes to the Packers side, I do think Romeo Dobbs is probably the one to look at. He's 11-8. He is a bit shorter now because they've worked out he's the number one guy, but he is the number one guy. So I think because of that, he's worth looking at. I also like the over in this. It's set at 45. I think the Packers are going to have to show some, form of offense. Like I say, with the run game, I think they'll do well. And the Jets have put points up. They got 40 points against the Dolphins last week just by themselves. So I think they've definitely got a chance of going on the over. Having said all of that, the one bet that I would say that I think is probably the best bet for the game, and it pains me to say it because it's against us, but Breece Hall, 7-4 anytime touchdown. He's now the number one guy there. I know Michael Carter is still having flashes. He's still getting points and touchdowns and stuff like that. But the fact is that Breece Hall is getting the rushing attempts now, and it's certainly changed. And at 7-4, I think is a very decent price for a running back who is going to be the main guy, and against the defense that's currently ranked 20th when it comes to rushing yards against them. So yeah, Breece Hall I think is a good shout at 7-4.
Yeah, they've got some nice young pieces on that Jets team now that's really going to impact them in going forward in the future. I equally in the same as you. I can't see the Packers losing this one, but I think I've said that most weeks. But yeah, what did you say? Matt LaFleur's never lost 2 games in a row, I think you said in his.
Yeah, he's never lost 2 games in a row. I think he was. I think after the first week it was 9-0, so I'm guessing it would be 10-0 if they win this week. Yeah, they've never lost 2 games in a row. The coaching last week, like I say, that's what got a lot of criticism, and I think it was on both sides of the ball. The defense was just standing off too much. The offense just wasn't using the run game. Now, a lot of people are like, is that the coaching, or is that Aaron Rodgers changing the play at the time? And that's the problem. So you don't really know 100% with that. But yeah, there needs to be a reaction, and it was pretty. Like I say, the first half was okay and was solid, and then it just went very bad last week. So there needs to be a reaction against a team that, to be honest, yeah, the Jets have got some good young pieces and look okay, but they're not exactly the best team out there. So they have to be doing something.
Yeah, I think your comment there with what you said with Jair Alexander, saying like he's going to go into the Jets, we shouldn't lose against them. I think that's the attitude a lot of people have had against the Giants. I still think people think, they're not great. Their offense doesn't move the ball very well. We'll go in and win that game. But I think what people are not remembering is that defense is ranked like in the top 5 already this year, isn't it? So I think people are going into that game thinking they're going to win it and just coming up short against a team that's got a lot of grit and playing some hard football. So I think you just got to go into that mentality that every game is going to be a battle this year. There's no teams that you can just blow over. We saw the Jets against Miami. Most people would have thought Dolphins would go in there and win that easy. So I think it's just a mentality thing. So as long as the Packers go into this a bit more like spurred up to win rather than thinking it's just a formality and a win, they'll be okay.
Yeah, I think the fact that it's because they're at home as well. They've got the crowd there. They've really got.
Yeah. Next game is going to be an interesting one. I think a lot of people have their eyes on this one. I know it's the reverse fixture, but it's Jacksonville at the Colts.
Yeah, so this was the first week, wasn't it? was it week 1 when it was the Colts at home to the Jags? No, the Colts away to the Jags, and we came out and said that or I came out and said that there was this record of the Jags winning all the time. Now you look at it again. The Colts have won 8 of the last 9 against the Jags at home. So we're going to go for the Colts. For whatever reason, between these two teams, there is a massive home-away split for these two teams. It's really strange. So I think definitely the Colts to win. Both teams are very good against the run. So with that, when it comes to the Colts, who have they got? Because they've lost Taylor
Jackson, and I think they may play Philip Lindsay. I'm not really sure what's going on with Philip Lindsay because he's not practiced all week, which is odd because Hines and Taylor haven't practiced. But I think they're still saying Lindsay's going to play. I don't know whether it's because he's been there before and knows the plays or what. But if not, it's just Deion Jackson, isn't it?
Right. So it sounds like it's going to be predominantly Jackson then. I don't think that the Jags defense are necessarily going to struggle when it comes to that. I think they'll probably shut the run down relatively easily, in the same way that Colts defense against the run. Just before we came on, there was someone on Twitter showing me one of their bets that they picked James Robinson to score today, and Robinson's a good running back. He's had a couple of rough weeks, but he's a good running back. You feel like he's got a chance to score, but against that Colts defense, I think it will be tough for him. So really kind of focusing on the pass. I think the Colts will win. The Jags really struggled last week to put up points. I can see it happening again this week, which is going to be a bit tough for a team that's kind of looked half decent so far. Michael Pittman is obviously the number one guy there. He's 6-4 anytime, so I think that's one that you can go for. But the one that I really do like is Alec Pearce this week. I think that, I mentioned about Chris Olave and when he got his first touchdown for the Saints against the Vikings in the article that I wrote. I think this is Alec Pearce's week to get his touchdown. I really do. And at 12-5, I think he's a very good price. He's been getting more and more targets from Matt Ryan over the course of the season. He missed the first couple of games, but it was due to a concussion. I think he looks good and he's getting the ball, and Matt Ryan clearly trusts him. So I don't think it'll be a massively high scoring game, although I do like the Colts to win. So I would say take -1.5 at 10-11. I think that's another bet that's worth doing. But the real one at the price, I think, is Alec Pearce.
Yeah, definitely. Seen a lot more of the ball over the last couple of weeks. The targets are definitely going his way. I like some of the pieces they've got in receiver. I wonder if they're going to use Jelani Woods anymore. Looked good against Kansas, the tight end, with there not being...
It's so difficult, though, because they've got Jelani Woods, Mo Alley-Cox, and there's another one as well, isn't there? Is it? I can't remember his name now. I'm sure they've got another tight end as well. Yeah. It's so difficult to work out which one's going to get the snaps.
I just think without the run game that they're going to have, I think they're going to have to stack a few more tight ends in there. Just to get a bit of protection, a bit more option for the short yardage passing if they're not going to try and use a run for the short yardage. So I think he might be involved a bit more. Obviously, like you said, it's real tough with them. He's had one game where he's done something and then not seen the targets again. So I would like to see him more, just because he had such a good reputation coming into this team. I thought he'd fit into this team really well, and for some reason, it's just not really happened. So I agree with you. I think the Colts win this one. I still think they're a team to keep an eye on. I don't think they're as bad as what everyone's thrashing out there. Obviously, we said this last year. They're a team that starts off slow, aren't they? They start off slow, and then as the season goes on, they progress and look dangerous. And then it's just whether they can get over the line of getting into that playoffs. I think that's their area of concern. So a lot of new pieces, a lot of new bits. It just needs a bit of time. I think it's still early doors for them. They're still in the race.
Yeah, our guy George, bless him. I mean, he's so depressed at the moment, being a Colts fan, and we need to get him a couple of wins just to cheer him up a bit. I mean, it's so sad to see. So we want to see the Colts do well.
We do, and I'm a Giants fan, so why he's so depressed. His team have been in and around it for many years, so it's a bit of a one bad season. It's all gone to pot. On to the next game. It's the Minnesota Vikings at the Miami Dolphins. Could be an interesting one.
Yeah, so I am going to rely on you here because I have no idea who Skylar Thompson is. So start speaking.
Not got much for you, mate.
You're the college guy. Come on.
Yeah, that doesn't mean I know ins and outs of every single.
You not know much about him.
I've not got loads to really throw at that one.
Right. Okay. Well,
what you do know is he played preseason and he was I might be wrong. He was the number one quarterback through preseason, I think, out of all the quarterbacks that played, wasn't he?
I have no idea.
I've got a feeling stats-wise, I think he came out on top preseason games out of all quarterbacks that played preseason. Someone needs to fact check that, but we'll have a look. But yeah, I think there's going to be some hype in there that he'll be able to get the job done. I think they're quite confident in him. Like I said, if I am right about the preseason he had, he's got a bit of reps in there with the team already.
Right, so the only thing is because I don't really know a lot about him. I've kind of steered clear of the Dolphins wide receivers because of it. Despite that, I mean, obviously Tyreek Hill, I think he's 6'4", is I mean, you're not going to get 6'4" Tyreek Hill very often. So I mean, if you want to take the gamble on it, then I wouldn't put you off of it. But it's not for me, just purely because I don't know much about him. The thing that is noticeable when you look at the defenses is that the Dolphins have struggled against the pass. Now, it is slightly inflated because of that game against the Ravens was so ridiculous, but they're still 28th against the pass. They do struggle with that. The Vikings, I know they're away, but it's, nice 6 p.m. start, no prime time for Kirk Cousins, so I'm sure he'll be nice and relaxed and be okay. I think Justin Jefferson at even money is a really good shout to be putting in any accumulator that you have. He's definitely always likely to come up with a touchdown. And also Adam Thielen is at a slightly bigger price, is 7-4. I did him last week and it didn't happen, but you have to feel at some point that he's gonna get one, and that it's, with all the attention on Jefferson, you just have to feel eventually that Adam Thielen will do well. So I think they're the two bets that I kind of looked at. Jefferson, definitely. I know it's short, but like I say, in an accumulator, I think he's worth it. And Thielen. Yeah, the Dolphins, they struggled against the Jets, but it's all because of the quarterback. This is the problem. It's like they're a good team. They just need to get Tua back and fit.
Yeah, I like the Vikings in this one. They've proved a lot of teams that they are one to watch. We did say before the season started they're going to improve and look better this year. Equally, it's a tough one, isn't it? Because the Dolphins have been beating people well, beating teams they shouldn't beat. It's just that the fixture last week where they've slipped up, that you probably wouldn't have bet against them if that wasn't the case, would you? But like I said, the Vikings have looked really good, and their pieces are there in this team. Yeah, I think I'm gonna stick with the Vikings. Is that way you're gonna hate it, aren't you? Me picking the Vikings.
Yeah, obviously, but I mean, it's unfortunately I do feel like they've probably got the best chance to win this game, and the worry is the unknown of the quarterback. That's the concern when it comes to Miami. So because you don't 100% know how he's going to be in an actual game in the season and stuff like that when it matters, that's where the problem is. You just don't know. And I think that will mean that there's going to be times when the Miami offense is not going to be out there that long, which is going to knacker out the Miami defense and then just open up gaps for the Vikings to take advantage of. So, yeah, I agree. I think the Vikings will probably take it.
Yeah. We're on to next game. It's the Cincinnati Bengals, a struggling Cincinnati Bengals at the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah, it's a bit of a strange one with the Bengals. I don't quite know what's happening. I think a lot of this. Well, yeah, it has sort of like, it hasn't quite gelled yet, has it? And that does seem to be the issue. But on top of that, the whole thing with T. Higgins last week was very, very strange. You know, he was suited up to play, and he just never really got on because of this ankle injury that he's got. And I feel like that is causing a lot of trouble, because when you lose Higgins, everyone focuses on Chase, and that kind of, once you go past that, I mean, Tyler Boyd is okay, Hayden Hurst is okay, but they're not fantastic players, and I think that's what's causing a lot of the trouble. For this specific game, the Saints have struggled against the run. They're 23rd against the run, so I think this is the week for Joe Mixon. He's 10 to 11 anytime touchdown. It is really short, but I do think that this is the week that he gets in. The only other one that I kind of really liked about it was Hayden Hurst, just purely because if Higgins is out, Hurst is going to see a lot more action. He got a touchdown last week. He's 3 to 1 anytime. So I think Hayden Hurst is definitely worth having a look at. On the Saints side of the ball, it depends. Is Jameis still out? I think he's still out.
Yeah. So
my issue with Alvin Kamara was when Jameis Winston was there, Kamara didn't see enough of the ball. Now that Andy Dalton's there, Kamara will see more of the ball, and he's definitely showing signs of his old self again. So at 13 to 10, I think he's definitely worth looking at. When it comes to who wins, how involved is Taysom Hill going to be?
That was literally going to be my question to you. My question to you was literally going to be, what do they do with Taysom Hill? You know, he was the reason they put up such a big score last week. He made all the touchdowns. They've not really used him all year. I know he's had injuries and he's had a couple of knocks, but they've not used him. And then they use him one game, and he has such a good game. And I know you shouldn't base how much involvement someone's going to get in a game off of what fantasy score they predicted. But if you do look at fantasy, I think he's predicted like 3 points.
Yeah.
So is there going to be involvement for him? 3.42. Is there going to be involvement for him? Are they going to use him? Is he going to be used at quarterback, running back, tight end, wide receiver? Do you think that's the way forward for them to win games?
I think all the time that Jameis is out is the way forward. I think that's what they're going to do as well, and people will see it. And I think he's going to be involved a lot more than what everyone maybe thinks he will, because the problem is that not only do you need him out there for the times he is going to get the ball, you need him out there for the times he's not going to get the ball to try and confuse the defense if he's going to get the ball or not. So it's a very difficult one. But I think he is going to be involved a bit more. I mean, but you just don't know. This is the problem. It's one of them things where it's like he could go and do what he did last week and get himself two touchdowns or something like that, or throw a couple of touchdowns. He could do nothing and just not be seen all day. So you can't back him. He's one of these people. You can't back him. You can't put him in your fantasy team because you just don't know what he's going to do. It's an absolute nightmare when it comes to him. But yeah, I mean, I do think the more involved he is and the more trick plays they do, probably the more chance they've got of winning the game. But I do think this Bengals defense is legit. And I think that because of that, I can see them grinding this one out but it's going to be close, I think.
Yeah, and the Saints are without Chris Olave for this game as well, aren't they? So that's going to be a massive dent. He's taken a lot of the receptions. He's got a lot of the yards for this team. So
I think Thomas is still out, isn't he?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I think what is it? Traquan Smith, Marcus Callaway. I think going to be the guys.
Taysom Hill.
Maybe Taysom Hill. Yeah, well, last week it's not an anomaly. They've done this for years, haven't they? They've used him in these plays. He's always been effective. But yeah, I struggle to see out of the gimmick plays and Alvin Kamara, which doesn't, it isn't stable enough to keep moving the ball down the field and things like that. I think the Bengals are just have got the right setup still, and if they stick to their game plan and that O-line does shore up a little bit, Joe Burrow's going to get a bit more time to do a bit of Joe Burrow. So I'm going to stick with the Bengals for this one, but it could be an interesting one to keep an eye on, definitely. On to the next fixture. It's the Baltimore Ravens at the New York Giants.
Yeah, you guys are just looking sneaky good. You really are. The O-line and D-line, although not the best in the league by any stretch, are looking like a unit and are actually putting in the yards and doing well. And then you've got Saquon Barkley. So, well, I have to say, Slayton was very good as well last week. I think he's definitely very good. I had a look at him with Tony and Golladay out again. Slayton 11-4 anytime. I think that's one that maybe is a real punt, but is one worth looking at. But also over 35.5 yards. He was Daniel Jones' main target last week by a mile. I think over 35.5 yards is certainly doable. This Ravens defense is not as good as what it was. They're currently 32nd against pass when it comes to yards. So I think Slayton's yards is definitely a good one to go for. The only other thing I think when it comes to the Ravens, for me, it's Lamar Jackson. And I think that he has a chance to get in the end zone. I think he has a chance to get the rush yards, which is set at 59.5. They're both 10-11, but they're very short. They're not something that I would be. There's a lot more options in these games that I'd be going for first. But if you wanted something for the Ravens, I think Lamar Jackson is the one to look at because the Giants are 30th against the run when they are at home as well. So they do put up the yards a bit against the run. I just, having watched the Giants, there's nothing special about them apart from Barkley. That's literally it. And the Packers have just stood so far back, the defense from them, that they gave them so much space to work in that was the reason that it worked out for them. But having watched them last week in person, you just feel that they're going to come up with a stinker at some point. Someone is going to get them. And I feel like the Ravens are a team that could potentially be it. We've said from day one that the Ravens are definitely a team that are better than what they did last year because of all the injuries. I think that offense, it's not going 100% great because obviously Bateman's out and, J.K. Dobbins has only just come back. It's potentially a close one. It's another one where it's a bit of a 50-50 and you don't really have a strong opinion on it. But I feel like maybe the Giants. I'll change. I think maybe the Giants will win it just purely because they've got the momentum.
Yeah, they've got momentum. They've got grit. They look like they're playing to win games, which we haven't seen in the last few years. We've just seen them sort of turn up, play football and go home, whereas they actually look like they want to win and they want to play for the head coach, for the GM. They look like they're really bought into it. And there's some, what I really like, there's some players that shouldn't be on the field playing because their talent isn't good enough to be starting in the NFL, but those players are the ones stepping up and producing the goods, which is great to see. It's like they're getting their chance and they're putting their mark on and showing they can do what they can do. I think that's what's carried us through. Defense is great, but yeah, outside of that, it's Saquon, isn't it? There's nothing else. As you said, O-line. I think Andrew Thomas, is ranked as the number one offensive lineman in the whole league at the moment, which is fantastic for us. We've never had that. So Yeah, I don't know where to go with this one. With how well our cornerbacks and safeties have been doing at shutting down the pass. I think without Bateman, it is Duvernay, isn't it? That's who they've got, and he's going to be on the field a lot for returning punts and things like that. So what they'll fully get out of him, I'm not sure. So as long as we can slow down the run in this game, I think we've always got a chance. But as you said, I think when you're saying they're going to slip up, it's been a lot of field goals for us. It's just field goals, field goals, field goals, field goals. So we're getting down the field. I think it's just going to be, if a team can put the ball in the end zone against us, they're going to win because we're relying on field goals. And the seven points from touchdown and extra points is just going to be too much for us to keep kicking those field goals consistently. So I can't see anybody blowing us out particularly, but the Ravens should be winning this one. In my eyes, the Ravens should be beating us. I think they are the better team. I think they, on paper, are better than us. They've got some nice pieces. Their defense should be better than what it's playing. You said it's not playing as well. It should be, though. It's still got all the pieces, if not better pieces than it had last year. Now it's a bit healthier. So the Ravens should be winning this one. But I'm just gonna stay optimistic for the Giants and say Giants just because I can this week. But
I just feel I feel there's a bit of momentum.
Yeah,
I really do, and it's not been. You haven't. It's funny, really, because last week was very much like, oh, this is the first decent side that they're playing and stuff like that, and they haven't played anyone that great. And then the Packers didn't really turn up in the second half, and the Giants got the job done. And you just sort of start thinking to yourself, well, they are kind of on a bit of a run here, and it's like. People are coming out this week saying, oh, well, they've got to travel back from London and they've got to do all that. And it's a little bit like, yeah, but you've just won. They're not going to care. They're going to be high as anything. Yeah, exactly. So it's like, it's not a massive problem. I just had a quick look. They're 41-20, so just over 2-1 to win the game if you fancy him to win it outright. But +6 at the moment. If you can get 6 points for the Giants, if you can get more, if you can get a touchdown, you can get like a +7. Then that would be a great bet, I think, for the Giants, because I don't think, even if the Ravens do win it, I don't think they're going to blow them out.
Yeah, we've managed to keep the scores down against us, which is fantastic. So yeah, again, like I said, I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I just think if teams can put the ball in the end zone, that's how they're going to beat us.
Yeah.
But we'll see. On to the next one. On to the next one. It is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, we were having a little chat about the Steelers before we came on. It's not good, is it? It's really not, and I don't see it changing here. I know they're at home, but the Bucs are just better. And the one thing that the Steelers have always sort of prided themselves on over these last few years is how strong their defense is. And obviously with TJ Watt being there, that defense is not strong at the moment. It's really struggling. So they're ranked 22nd against the run, but they're ranked 30th against the pass when it comes to yards. There isn't a particularly big priced bet in this game, really. But, I mean, Fournette is 8-11. Evans is 10-11 and Godwin is 6-5. Like them all, to be honest. I like them all to score. When it comes to the Steelers, the only thing that I did see, and this is really sort of like, it's kind of clutching at straws a little bit, because Freiermuth is out injured. Last week, Deontay Johnson got 13 targets. I think for anyone who's going to get that many targets, you have to look at a price for a touchdown. And at 21-10, it's a big price for Deontay Johnson. It really is. So I would maybe suggest a speculative punt on that at 21-10. But I think the Bucs will win this fairly comfortably. And I mean, they're 10-point favourites. Last week we were coming out and going, my God, it's like the Bills are 14-point favourites against them, and they covered it and some. I mean, the Bucs, whose offense hasn't really been doing mega stuff this year, are 10-point favourites. I can't see them not covering it. I don't see where these points are coming from the Steelers in order to cover it. And I do think that this is real warning signs now if that gets covered. I really do, and that there's big problems at the Steelers.
Yeah, I mean, I really like the Steelers. I think they should be doing better. That, you know, I don't know how, with a team that's got a lot of good talent, I don't know how losing one player can affect your team so much. You know, they've got loads of great pieces, loads of good youngsters. Where's Najee gone? Najee Harris has literally like disappeared.
I do have a bit of a. I think he's injured.
You think he's still carrying the foot injury?
I think he's still carrying a foot injury and he's just carrying on. It seems too strange to me that he has gone from so good. I know he was always about volume. He's never been like the Saquon Barkley who can just run off a 70-yard play. He's not that guy. He's always been about volume, getting loads of reps, and he's done well because of it. To me, it just feels like he's injured still. It doesn't make sense. I don't really think has the O-line changed that much? I don't think there's been much.
Well, the O-line was the issue last year, and I think it
was.
They lost people and brought people in, but they brought in some big names. So I don't know. I think it just hasn't improved and hasn't got worse. It is their main issue, isn't it? The O-line.
But that's what I mean. It hasn't changed.
Yeah, so he has,
but Najee has, and this is the problem. And I don't even think it's so much that it's Trubisky or Pickett that's the issue. Because Big Ben was just standing there, not really doing anything. I don't really. The offense doesn't really feel like it's changed much. It's just kind of just not working, sort of thing. And the defense is just because TJ Watt's not there, has just folded, and it's just really strange. It's tough. They played the Bills last week, and the Bills are ridiculously good. So you can't completely have a go at them because of that. But yeah, it feels like a bit of a worry. And you look at it and you go, where all the time they're playing these sort of opposition, where's the next win coming from? I'll go for the Bucks.
Do you know what? I'm going to go with the Steelers. They're 1-4. There's got to be a win somewhere, like you said. Why not be this week? They're at home. They need to prove that they're not horrendous. George Pickens looks like the real deal as well. So, hopefully they've got weapons. Hopefully it can work. I'm going to go against the grain in this one. I think it's more the fact that I like them more than which team should be winning this one. But there you go. On to the late fixtures. First one up, the Panthers at the struggling Rams.
Yeah, really struggling Rams. It's like becoming a bit of a thing where you sort of worry for them whether they're the whole point is this is the window, isn't it? That's the whole point with the Rams and doing what they're doing. And the Super Bowl hangover is very, very much happening. Teams, it's weird to come out and say this because obviously Matthew Stafford has been in the league for so long, but it feels like teams have worked out that you just pressure him and he can't cope with it. And it's like, how's it taken this long? But I think that's what it is. Having said all that, I think they'll win this game. I don't think they'll have an issue in this particular one. Cooper Kupp obviously is one to put in your accumulators. All Stafford does is pass it to him and Tyler Higbee. That's all he's interested in. Allen Robinson has been a massive disappointment so far this season. But he's 8-13, so I wouldn't get too excited about it. But he's the one, he will score, won't he? He always does. The Panthers are just a mess, really. Are just a complete and utter mess. And obviously Baker Mayfield's gone. Matt Rule, is out injured. Matt Rule has gone. I do that just purely because I'm a bit of a numbers person. I do like the +10 for the Panthers. I must say I do like that at 10-11. They've got the over/under at 41.5. So if you've got a +10 on that, that means that you don't have to score many points in order to get there. PJ Walker's shown that he can get the ball down the field. He's not great, but he can get the ball down the field. So I can see field goals coming. So I think the +10 is worth looking at. But I think the Rams are winning.
Yeah, I think the Rams are winning. I mean, you're not telling me that all you did is lose Odell Beckham Jr. and Von Miller, and you turned into a bad team overnight when you replaced them with Allen Robinson and Bobby Wagner. I mean, what's changed? They didn't have a particularly great running game last year. It wasn't fantastic. So something's got to click for them again. I can't see this continuing. The Rams are still elite. I think, despite the fact that they've lost 3 already.
They're an elite. Yeah. No, you're right. They're an elite team, and they should be looking at winning the Super Bowl again. That's what they should be looking at doing. They're like you say, they've essentially got the same team. But losing Von Miller is a big negative, but actually their defense is decent. That hasn't been the problem. They're still they're ranked 11th against the run, 13th against the pass. So they're decent as a defense. The problem is it's starting to feel very much like the Packers with Devontae Adams. It's almost like we all know where the ball's going. Mm-hmm. Doesn't mean you can stop it going to cut, because they're just that good. But it's not going anywhere else. And so because of that, they're just not getting the points on the board. And like you say, that run game just is pretty dead. Henderson's okay. Akers.
There's no Cam
Akers is done. He's just done.
No Akers today, is there?
No, he's out. He's out today, but he doesn't. He just doesn't.
Reasons, wasn't it?
Yeah. But he just doesn't look right. So I don't. He's coming back from that injury. I think they rushed him back to get into for the playoffs, and he just doesn't look right. So yeah, they got Henderson, but I think they'll win it fairly okay. But I mean, they're only winning it because of who they're playing against.
Yeah, well, I think they're good enough. But yeah, on to the next one. It's the Arizona Cardinals at the Seattle Seahawks. Yeah,
this is a slightly interesting game because both defenses are pretty poor, and the Seahawks have been pretty bad defensively, but they're putting the points up as well. You see, this is the thing. So they're both capable of putting points up. They're both defenses are pretty poor, so it should be quite an exciting game, this one. For me, the one thing that sort of I got out of this when I looked into it, the Seahawks are currently ranked 32nd against the tight end, and they are atrocious against the tight end. This is really your last chance with Zach Ertz, because Hopkins is back. You're going to have Marquise Brown there. I think Ertz has got a good chance of seeing quite a lot of action today. Over 47.5 yards. He's 10 to 11, but he's 21 to 10 anytime touchdown. I think that's a good price for Ertz. I can see Marquise Brown potentially scoring. He's 6 to 4, so I think he's worth having a look at. And I do think that Eno Benjamin is going to see most of the run game because Connor's out injured by the sound of it. Or if he's not out, he's not going to be playing much. So I do really like Zach Ertz. On the same side, the Seahawks, I think the one guy who isn't getting picked up quite a lot is Will Disley. He seems to be getting tight. He seems to be getting touchdowns, 12 to 5. I think he's a good price. And then the only other thing is everyone is high on Kenneth Walker this week after taking over being the main running back. Firstly, the Cardinals' defense is actually half decent against the run. So that's the one that is a little bit concerning. But also, Pete Carroll's always had a couple of guys. He's never had just one guy. With Rashard Penny's gone, Travis Homer's out injured. With Kenneth Walker, I think DJ Dallas is 12 to 5. That's the other one on the Seattle side. So you've got a couple of guys there, Dallas and Disley, both at 12 to 5 at the moment, who I think have got good chances of scoring. But for me, I think Ertz is the one that you should be looking at that I really like. I think it will be a high-scoring game. I don't really know which way it's going to go, to be honest. It's a bit of a coin flip again, because the Seahawks are putting points up. Geno Smith is doing well. And the Cardinals struggle at times. It's like sometimes they do well and sometimes they really struggle. It really depends which Cardinals you get come out for this game. So, I mean, you look at it, the Seahawks are you can get plus 2.5 for the Seahawks. I'd be quite tempted to take it.
I'm going to stick with the Cardinals. I think the Cardinals are the better team. I think they've got more pieces. I really like Eno Benjamin. I said before the season started, watch out for him in fantasy later on in the year, because I think he could click there and really work. So I think he's more than capable of carrying that backfield every down, with the other two guys being out. And I think Marquise Brown is the real deal. A lot of people have been out of favor with him, but he's getting double-digit targets, bringing them all in, getting the touchdowns, making the big plays. So, yeah, I think they've got the right, as you said, you add in a bit of Zach Ertz into that. That's the way to win games. Good running back, good deep threat in the middle with a bit of Zach Ertz. I think it works. On the flip side, nothing's really gone bad for the Seahawks, has it? DK Metcalf's still getting the ball. Tyler Lockett's still getting the ball. They've got some good young runners. Just can't see. It's again, like we said about the Bengals, like we said about the Rams. Not loads has changed at the Cardinals. So why can't they do better than what they are doing? And I feel like this is a game, with it being a divisional game as well, they've got to step up in this one. Seahawks have got nothing to prove. They're just playing to beat teams and not look terrible, aren't they? So I think this is one that the Cardinals have got to prove that they're still in contention. And their division's not one, is it? You know, they're only one behind the 49ers. So yeah, I'm going to stick with the Cardinals for it.
Yeah, I can understand where you're coming from. Having looked at it, I think the over is at 50.5. So I think the over is definitely very gettable in this one. So I like that. I don't think I'd necessarily be going for either team, you know, really to win it. I wouldn't be backing either team, but definitely the over and the other ones I said. Yeah, it could go.
It could
go either way.
Okay, on to the last late game. It's the Bills at the Chiefs.
How is this not Sunday night football or Monday night football?
I
mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not complaining. Yeah. Well, that's very true. I'm not complaining because it means it's an earlier one for us. I have to say, as a Red Zone viewer, I feel like this is probably the game where I will be turning away from Red Zone and be watching the actual game. Really like the over again. It's set at 54. I think it's the highest one of the season so far. But I mean, we saw last year, didn't we? We basically know, we're pretty confident what's going to happen here. I don't really see much changing. I think it's going to be another shootout between the two, and it's going to be a case of just having to constantly go for touchdowns all the time because field goals just aren't enough. So I think that's how it's going to be. You know, put everyone in. Put everyone in your lineup, back everyone. I mean, I just don't see who doesn't score here. So Stephon Diggs is 20-21. He's odds on, so I'm not really looking at him because I think he's going to be the one who's marked most. Gabe Davis is 11-10, like that as over evens. I think that's definitely one to go for. One that he struggled this year is Dawson Knox. I think if he's going to score today. You know, it's like, because it's just that kind of game. He's 7-5. It's a bit short, I think, for a bit of a punt. But Gabe Davis on the Buffalo side is very much the one that I like. It's weird because when it comes to the Chiefs, you just automatically go Kelsey. But if you actually look at it, the Bills are ranked number 1 against the tight end so far this season. So that does kind of like concern you a little bit because it's odds on. So that's a little bit like 10 to 11. But he gets the ball so much, you just can't not see him scoring. I think if you want to go for any real big prices, it's on the cheap side. So I think MVS is definitely worth a go this week. He showed a bit more last week. I think it's that type of game where you sort of feel if it does end up in a shootout, he's the guy with the speed who might be able to get down there quick enough at 12 to 5. And then the other one at a massive price is Sky Moore at 15 to 2. He's the one who also they've started saying they want to get him more involved. He's looked decent. He's shown little bits, but not been out there enough to really do anything. At 15 to 2, I think he's a really good price. I think the Chiefs win it.
Yeah, I don't know how to call it. This one for me is the hardest game to call. I thought it would be the hardest game to call before the season started. I thought before the season started, Bills were my tip to beat this one. I thought the Chiefs might have dropped off a little bit, but they still look good. They still look like they're making it work. They're getting a bit more out of their run game. My question is, what have the Bills got at cornerback? It's been 2 rookies, isn't it? The 2 rookies that they picked up last year. Have they got any? Has anybody come back with any fitness to shore up that?
Not that I know of. To be honest, I wouldn't come out and say I don't think it matters, but I just think that Mahomes and that
the 2 young lads haven't done terrible.
They haven't been bad. They haven't been bad. I think they've been solid. I just feel that that Kansas City offense at home with that crowd is just gonna. I think they're just going to be too strong, and I can't believe that you can get +2.5 for the Chiefs. I really can't. I know the Bills. The Bills have looked great. The Bills have been brilliant. They're favourites to win the Super Bowl. I think they should win it. They look a great team, but there's just something about them playing Kansas City. I don't know what it is, but there is just a history there, and the Chiefs seem to just pull it out the bag every time.
You always go with history, and I always go against it. And I always lose.
And who always wins?
But I'm going to go against it, funny enough. I'm going to go with the Bills for this one, surely because I think that's the team I'm going to be supporting. I think it is a coin flip game. I'm going to be supporting the Bills in that game. So I'm going to steer that way as an optimist and say they can win that one. It's the only reason. That's the only thing I could come up with for it. It literally is.
Very technical. Well done.
Okay. The late game. It's a good game to stay up for. I think it's worth a stay up. It's the Dallas Cowboys at the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, I think it is a good game. I think it would have been the game of the week had the Chiefs and Bills not been playing each other. Definitely. I like the Eagles for it. I think the Eagles are gonna. I've said from day one, I think they'll do really well. I was laughed at. I remember there was a meeting of the franchise tag, and we were out having dinner, and I was laughed at, ridiculed at saying that I felt the Eagles would do really well this year. But I don't
think you were laughed at, ridiculed for them saying they were going to do well. I think we all agreed they were going to top that division.
I think you were laughed at, ridiculed because
I think you said that they were dark horses for the Super Bowl, and that's what you were laughed at for. But to be fair, mate. I take it back now.
I think they look good. I do feel in this particular matchup, I like Dallas Goedert in this one. I think over 45.5 yards is 10 to 11 and 7 to 4 for a touchdown. I think that the Cowboys with that defense, it is a good defense. A lot of it will depend on whether Parsons is playing or 100% fit. I think they think that he will definitely be playing, but whether he's still going to be 100% fit, who knows? So I think that they will rush him quite, aggressively for most of the game, which means that I think Goddard being the sort of, safety net that Hurts has, I think he will be used quite a lot. So I really like Goddard in the game. When it comes to the Cowboys, the only one that really interests me is Michael Gallup. I think he has come back now. He's shown that he's fit. He's done pretty well in the couple of games he's been in. He's at a big price of 7-2 anytime. I think that's a decent price for him. CeeDee Lamb is going to be the one who always gets the main defenders on him. So yeah, I think that that's the case for that. I'm not particularly. I don't really have much of an opinion on the over or the under, to be honest. I think 42 is probably quite right. So it could go either way. But they've got the Eagles at -6.5. I don't think I would be going that far. I think it'll be quite close. But I do think the Eagles will nick it.
Yeah, I think going out and getting AJ Brown was probably some of the best business anyone's done in recent times in NFL. It seems to have been the difference changer for them, putting in with Smith. And then along with that, how they run the ball, it just works, doesn't it? They've seen what they've got in Hurts and built around him, which I think was a bold move considering there was doubts about him. But they've obviously seen what they've got built around it, and it works, it clicks, and Jalen Hurts looks like he's going to get in the end zone every single week without fail, which takes a lot back from the running backs for fantasy. But for the Eagles itself, it's good to watch. They are good to watch. They're exciting to watch, despite the fact it's not all throwing the ball down the field or what you're used to watching. It's still exciting. I think I enjoyed. I shouldn't say this. I enjoyed watching them play as a neutral. But yes, I just still think there's problems with that Cowboys team. It's winning games and it's doing the job, but I think there's still problems there. It's still not, for me, 100% right, like the Eagles is clicking. So I'm leaning towards the Eagles winning this one. Yeah, so I'm gonna stick with the Eagles.
It's only because you hate the Cowboys more. That's all it is.
It's a tough one, Who do you hate more, the Eagles or the Cowboys? That is a tough decision. I mean, probably. I hate the Cowboys more, but I don't like the Eagles fans. Maybe it's Rob McElhenney that's making me like the Eagles a bit more. I've been watching too much of Wrexham. That's what it is. Yeah. Okay, let's on to the last game. It's the Denver Broncos at the LA Chargers.
Yeah, so Monday Night Football is it's a bit better than some of the games we've had in prime time, I have to say. I think the Chargers have looked okay, but they've had a lot of injury problems, obviously with Herbert and Allen. They still think that Allen's out, so that's a big problem for them. Everyone's going to be on Mike Williams. To me, and also when you're playing the Broncos are number one against the pass, so it kind of puts you off going anywhere down that route. They struggle a bit more against the run, so I think Eckler, who clearly looks like he's back to form now, but he's only 20-21, so it's not a particularly big bet to be going for. The Chargers defense hasn't really got that much better, to be honest. It's a little bit of a surprise given who they brought in. It hasn't really worked. They're ranked 24th against the run when it comes to yards. So I do feel like for the Broncos, if there's any chance of getting any touchdowns, I feel like Melvin Gordon at 8-5. The issue with Melvin Gordon is that he does have, I think he's got this rib injury at the moment, so they're not 100% sure how much he's going to play. But the one guy really who looks interesting in this one at 5-2 is Latavius Murray. I reckon he'll come in. He showed last year at the Saints that he's still got something there. I think he comes in as probably as the backup and is the battering ram basically. And at 5-2, I think he's the price that you want to be looking at for him. The only other one that I kind of looked at was Cortland Sutton at 7-4. He averages 9 targets a game, so I think because of that, there's a chance that he'll get a touchdown. But I'm not really, to be honest, apart from Latavius Murray, I'm not really particularly strong on anything in this game. I think the Chargers will win it. And I've purposely not mentioned the quarterback of the Broncos because I happen to know that he is your quarterback in your fantasy team. So I will let you rant about him.
I'm not going to rant about him. I love Russell Wilson. I've championed him for many years. But what's going on? I don't know what's wrong with them. It's really odd watching them really fail to move the ball with the weapons they've got, with the run game they've got, with how good their defense plays. It's odd and it's really weird to watch. But you did say it's going to take a season for this team to click. You know, we're coming up to the middle of the season. Will it click a bit more? Maybe. If they can't get up for this game, then there's something wrong. This is the one for them. This is them. I think this is their rivals in their division, isn't it? The Chiefs are better than both of them still, and the Raiders aren't.
Oh, what?
So, you know, it's these two fighting for that potential wildcard spot. In this, if one's going to get out of this division. So if they can't get up to win this one with the team they've got, with the Chargers that is beaten up and not performing to its full, then there's something wrong. So I'm going to go with the Broncos to win this one, and hopefully it clicks this week and we see a bit more of the magician that Russell Wilson is. So yeah, I'm sticking with the Broncos for it.
I would expect there to be quite a strong Broncos support there as well. The Chargers are famous for not having a particularly strong crowd. I would expect a lot of Broncos fans to turn up for this one. It will be tough because you have got Justin Herbert on the other side of the ball, so it will be hard. But they need to sort of energize their season a little bit because every game is coming across the same now. It's a real struggle to put any points. It's even a struggle to get field goals. Like, it's a struggle to get the ball that far. And they've got to get Sutton and Judy involved a lot more. And these guys are not bad receivers. This is the thing. They're not bad. It's just not happening between Wilson and them. And I don't know if it's just the play calling. I don't know if you can blame everything on Nathaniel Hackett. A lot of people do. He's not necessarily the greatest that, you know, when at Green Bay it was mainly Matt LaFleur that did all of it, so there is an issue there, but he has brought people in to make decisions and help him out, and something's got to give at some point, and something, it has to improve, and it's starting, you know, you're week 6 now, it's starting to reach that point where if it doesn't, you've got to worry for them.
Yeah, that's entirely, and it has to be this game, doesn't it? It has to be against the Chargers that it works. So, yeah, it's a tough one there, and poor old Russell Wilson's getting a bit of stick despite everything he's done over the years. But hey ho, that's all of our games. Adam, have you got? I don't suppose you prepped a treble for us that on there or anything, or are you putting them out later?
I have. They're already out. What have you been doing? What have you been doing this morning? Yeah, so early games already gone out. Really like Alec Pearce for the Colts, so I've put him in. Really like Breece Hall for the Jets against the Packers. That's a bit depressing, but I really like him today at 7-4. And Justin Jefferson, just to really depress me a bit more, we'll go for a Vikings touchdown as well. Altogether is 17-1 for the treble. As I said, you know, these bets are kind of, chances of hitting trebles are not necessarily the easiest, but there's no reason as to why these guys can't score.
I think you've hit one. Well, we're into week 6, so 5 weeks. You've hit 3, haven't you? 4?
So we've hit 3, and they've all, so them 3 effectively have paid for the season. So that's kind of how I look at it anyway. So now it's all kind of free. Yeah, we've hit 3, and the other thing was, as I say, when it comes to these bigger price ones, go for the singles as well. And I think on 2 of them we had 2 out of 3, so you would have made profit on them as well. So yeah, that's for the early games, about 17-1. The late games, there's only 3, so there's not a lot for you to go for. So Zach Ertz, 21-10, I think is definitely worth it. Cooper Kupp, because he's the only one who always scores for the Rams. And then Gabe Davis, I think is, everyone's going to be on Diggs. So I think Gabe Davis, just under 10-1 for that. So it's not as big, but it's not too bad. So if you want to go for the trebles, then they're definitely worth having a look. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of singles out there that are worth having a look at, but obviously they're a bit shorter. But yeah, I mean, they're the two main ones, so they're up on the Twitter page already.
Brilliant. Thanks for that, Adam. Fingers crossed that we can pay out everyone again and it'll all work well. I say we pay out. We're not paying nothing. But fingers crossed for your teams this week. There will the Tuesday show, the fantasy show. Tune into the fantasy show if you've not seen it this year. There's some new guys helping out with it. They're great fun and it's a good laugh. So if you want to laugh and get some tips, then tune into the fantasy show on Thursdays. And we'll be back. Are we back? We're back on Sunday again next week, isn't it? We're not moving to Saturdays yet. Well, we're not for the Broncos Jags game. We'll be moving to the Saturday, right?
Yeah, that is the plan.
But till then, guys, thanks for joining and see you on Tuesday.